Hello and welcome, and today is the start of a very exciting new series that I'm starting, which is called Composting Broken Down, which is where I'm going to show you, the complete beginner, everything you need to know about making your own compost at home out of your garden and food waste. And today's episode I'm going to show you what kind of compost bins you can get in your garden and where you should be putting them. And next week, next Saturday, so make sure you subscribe and have hit the little bell to make sure you know when I upload it. Next Saturday I'm going to talk to you about the composting process and the materials you should put in your compost bin. And now the reason I've chosen to do this series is because there's so many people who buy bagged compost for everything. Now don't get me wrong, I buy my bagged compost to start seeds off as well, because normally it's a bit finer and better quality than my own homemade stuff. But making your own homemade compost just to cover your beds is, I think, the best thing that you can do to save money in your garden, because you can turn the waste product into something really usable. And all of the compost bins that I'll be speaking about that you can buy in today's video, I'll be leaving a link down below, so make sure if you want one you go into the description and check it out. So obviously, the first compost bins that I'm going to talk to you about that you can get in your garden when you're starting out are these, which I call Dalek compost bins, which look a bit like something off a British TV show. But these I find really good because they're so sealed. You do have to open them up sometimes to mix them around and get some air in, because the microbes in there have to respire, and respiration means that you need oxygen because they need to breathe to be able to break down all the organic matter that's in there. So these are really good as well, because I've got one in the background that's black, and in the sun this really heats up and it can really help sort of kick off your composting. This one's a bit older, but I think that's where I do my quick composting, and here I leave things in for about a year or just under. But these are quite regularly seen in some gardens, so quite a lot of people have them, but some people don't like how they look. So that's why I'm going to link down below, and I'm also going to talk about some of the wooden ones. And the wooden ones, they are really good, they look really nice in a garden, but the only thing is they won't last as long as a plastic one. But that's the trouble with plastic, is it's so durable that it lasts around as litter for a while. But if you use it and dispose of it properly, a plastic compost bin will last you ages. And you can also make them out of the boards from things like British recycled plastics. And they are like lumber, a bit like wood planks, that are made out of recycled plastics. I think it's farm plastics and other things like that, and straws. And you can make your own one out of that. Or alternatively, you can use wood, so you could use wooden sleepers, or for a cheaper alternative, you could use pallet wood. So something else that you can use as a compost bin are old barrels, and these are sort of like when you use the shop bought Dalek ones, as I call them. But the barrels, you can get wooden, plastic, metal, whatever material, there's probably a barrel made from it. And I think they're really good also because you can easily pull them off. If you cut the bottom off, you can easily pull them off to turn the compost into another barrel or another bin, or just to take it out and put it somewhere else in your garden. But then there's also, as I mentioned before, things like the Pallet compost bins, and these are really good as well because the air gets through them. But one thing I would say with those, if I was you and I was putting them in, I haven't got any of my own, so this might not be as accurate as where I'm speaking about my compost bins, but I'd put the Pallet compost bins in the shade, because if they're open and airy, when it's sunny they might dry out a bit because the sun will be on them. So that's why I would put them in a slightly shaded area. But you can also, what contradicts my last point, is you can put them in the sun to make sure they're warmer, but normally that's not a huge problem. I mean, my compost bin that's in the shade is the one that gets the hottest in my garden, and I think that's partly the reason because of the colour of it. Another good material you can make compost bins out of is fencing posts and fencing wire. So you can get, no matter how wide the wire you want, or how big the gaps if you will, and you can put 2 posts in, or 3 or 4 posts in, and you just put the wire between them all, and they will eventually rust and rot away, and they won't last as long as some things like the plastic or wooden bins. But you can make these, and then what you can do is you can try and lift them out, or you can make a way that you can unravel the wire, and then eventually that'll just be able to be spread out. So you could even do this on your vegetable patch, and then what you do then is you take the wire away and you just spread it out straight away on the vegetable patch. So that's just another idea for you. Lastly, another type of compost bin is a wormery, but my wormery, or a wormery, is a very effective way of doing it because they're quite odourless, they do it quite quickly, and it's to a really high standard compost. And the compost that I got was better than some shop bought composts that I've had, and that's because the worms, they're called tiger worms, and they can eat twice their body weight in each day. And you might not think this is much with a little worm, but when there's loads of them, I had about 500 grams of worms in there to start with, and they've already bred and there's more and more of them every day. That means that there's going to be loads and loads of movement in there, and all the compost is being moved and aerated, and this means for a really good compost. I'd just like to take a second to speak a bit more about my wormery. And this wormery, this is from wormcity.co.uk, and I'm not affiliated with them at all, but I'll include some links down below to some other products on Amazon that you can get, so you can get your own wormery. And this not only makes compost, it's also got a tap, and this tap, there's a sump at the bottom where loads of the worms, basically the worms wee, all accumulates, and you can dilute this in water, 1 part of the worm juice to 10 parts water, and this is a really, really good fertiliser for things like tomatoes and cucumbers, because it's a really, really rich fertiliser. So it's also got several different tiers, and this means that you can have one composting and you can keep filling the others up, which means you've got a continuous place to put all of your food scraps. And this will also encourage the worms to breed more, so you'll get more and more of them. And say eventually you have 500 grams of worms, they'll be composting about 1 kilo a day when on a nice hot perfectly conditioned day. So that's why I like this one, because it's got so many different tiers. You can get ones with only 1 tier, and you can even make ones, but the ones with like this I prefer, because you can just keep putting food on and they'll keep breaking it down, because they'll be like in this one. I've got at the bottom, I've got reasonably composted stuff. Up here I've got in the middle of the process, and up here I'm still putting food scraps in. So I'd just like to take this time out of the video to make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel down below and hit the little bell so that you know when the other episodes of this series come out next Saturday. I was just trying to get a nice shot with Alfie, but he's just sat up, and he was just sat down really nicely. But anyway, now I'm going to talk to you about where you should put your compost, or where you should put your compost bin. And your compost bin can be put anywhere in your garden, but I'd recommend that you put it on a slightly higher spot than the rest of your garden, so when it comes to emptying it out, it means there's gravity to help you get down the slope. And you should also make sure that there's enough sun to keep it warm, but also not too much that will dry it out quite a lot, unless you've got one compost bin like me where all of the compost stays in. And here's Alfie lying down, and I got a shot just like I wanted to earlier. I just thought I would point out, this is also what Alfie just did. There was a molehill here not long earlier, and Alfie's now dug it out trying to find the mole. And now I'm going to have to go and rake all this wood chip back into the hole. So thank you for watching my video. I hope you learned something and enjoyed the video. I hope you also enjoyed seeing Alfie. If you have any additional questions and you enjoyed, please let me know in the comment section below. Also, as I've said before, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you know when I next upload. The next episode in this series is coming out next Saturday on the 23rd of May at 3 PM UK time. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.